In this week's episode of the show, I am so excited to get to speak to the amazing entrepreneur and founder, Denise Kenny Byrne. Denise Kenny Byrne is the founder of The Head Plan. You may have seen her on Dragon's Den recently, and she is making such a huge impact in the personal and professional development space. Our missions are so aligned in terms of it not all being about work, but it can be very, very difficult as driven women where, you want to have the career, you want to have the family, you want to have the success. Denise's Head Plan method is a game changer. It is something I recommend to all my private clients and all my 360 Leaders Club members because it is so, so profound. So in this episode of the show, we are going to be talking all about how to set goals. What is a vision board? How to do it right? How Denise juggles mom life and being a busy female founder and so much more. So whenever you're ready, I look forward to you hearing today's episode. I hope you enjoy. Denise, you are very welcome to the 360 Leadership Podcast. Thank you for being here today.
Lucy, thank you so much for having me. This has been a long time coming, so I'm thrilled to finally sit down and have the chats.
I know. Oh my God. So for anyone listening, Denise, we would have been in touch with Denise a lot, I think, in my when I kind of started the business 3-4 years ago. And we were supposed to meet a couple of times and then the stars just didn't align. So this is our first time properly sitting down to have a chat. So I'm so grateful that you're here, ready to inspire our listeners today.
Lucy, thank you so much. Now, let's be honest, we had a little wobble with COVID in the middle, so it wasn't just us to blame as to why we couldn't meet up. But look, we're here now.
Yeah, exactly.
What you're all about, so I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you. Right back at you. So, do you want to introduce yourself for anyone who is listening who may not know who you are? Tell us who you are, what you do, what you're all about.
Yeah, so I am Denise. You might know me online as Denise Kenny Byrne. I am the co-founder of a personal development and wellness brand called The Head Plan, which we launched in 2019. I am married to my co-founder, Gernon, and I just had a little girl she's 13 months now. The time is flying by. So I had a little girl 13 months ago. And yeah, I guess I'm probably most well known for sharing online, juggling life, business, and my passion for personal development and wellness.
Amazing. So talk to me about the Head Plan. I know a lot of my 360 Leaders Club ladies are listening and they're like, Head Plan. They are all obsessed because I've been recommending it for so long and it's making such a huge difference. So tell us a little bit about the Head Plan and in particular, the Productivity and Wellness Journal.
So the Head Plan is, I say the Head Plan's like my first baby before Charlotte was born, but the Head Plan is something that's so important to me. So just a little bit of background. I was in a corporate world for a long time and very much focused on hitting those career goals and climbing that career ladder and very, very ambitious. Now, I still am very ambitious, but in a different way. I think what I learned when I was climbing that career ladder was I was in this toxic cycle of work hard, burnout, go on holiday and repeat that so many people are in. I was really only setting goals in one area of my life, and it was career, and everything else was burning around me. And there wasn't really a realization of this until my husband, Kieran, got sick. And there was a realization when everything had to stop and I had to look after him that I was just focusing on my career. I wasn't focusing on the other areas of life. I'd always been interested in life coaching. I've subsequently trained as a life and wellness coach. And I just became really passionate about setting goals in a balanced way. So not just career. It's fantastic to have career goals, but we can't just think about one area of our life to succeed. So I created this method, the Head Plan method, for myself and Kieran during his recovery in a way that we lean on the wheel of life and we set goals in a balanced way. So there's 6 Head Plan headings, pillars, we call them. And we set goals under the 6 pillars. We get visual as to what those goals look like on our vision board. We then break them down into smaller steps and align our actions day in and day out. And that is what the Head Plan is all about. It's about you writing it down and making it happen. Write it down and make it happen is our tagline. And I'm so passionate about that.
And what makes you so passionate about writing it down? What's different about writing down your goals versus having them in your head?
So before I started the head plan, I was always perplexed, and I don't know if you are. If you probably feel the same, Lucy, because I know we're in the same kind of space. But so many people to start do not set goals, which
Hmm.
to me is wild. So there's numerous studies that says 97% of the global population do not set goals. The 3% that actually think about their goals, only 1% write them down. There's a phenomenon when you take the pen to paper and actually sit with yourself, your thoughts, and really get clear on what you want. It really brings it to the front of the mind. The brain, as you know, it brings it to the prefrontal cortex. It really, it's like a contract you've written to yourself, and your brain filters out anything that isn't related to that. So it makes it easier to say no to anything that isn't that. So if you have a goal set and you've written it down, it makes it easier to just go after that, align your actions. You're clear, you know what you want. You're not getting caught up in other people's plans. I feel so many people are caught up in other people's plans and goals, and they don't even realize it.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Sing it, sister. I know
Yeah,
that study you're talking about as well. I think they saw the of the 1% that write down their goals.
you're
It was at
forced.
Harvard that did it. They were like 10
Yeah.
times more successful. They earned
No,
10 times more money.
when you write down your goals, when you're in that 1% club, which we are, you are 42% more likely to achieve.
42%.
Yeah,
So what do you think? So yeah, 1,000,000% I see this. And that's why I love like when I like my business is all about 360-degree success. So it's about
yeah,
having success in all areas, not just career. But when you ask people about writing down their goals, sometimes people really struggle. That's the
yeah,
number one struggle I hear too, is like, I don't know what I want.
yeah.
So how would you recommend someone begin to get clear on what they want?
I think the first thing that we do in our journal is really important because it brings clarity, and that's reflection. I think as much as coaching is about looking forward, I do think you do need to do an assessment of the here and now to be really clear on where you are, because it does bring awareness. Under our pillars, we reflect. So, where are you currently in finance? When you take a deep dive on where you currently are in finance, it does allow you to then see, okay, this is where I am, this is where I'd like to be, and then get a little bit clearer on your goals. So, the first part of goal setting for me is reflection. So, reflect under your goal headings to see where you are in order to see where you want to be. And I will say as well, Lucy, goals, like I'm not afraid to set big goals that scare me. I think a lot of people are. I wouldn't be afraid. I would go big, and I'd take the time and do it over the course of a couple of hours, a couple of days, a couple of weeks. Your goals can interchange with life, but I think just have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so many people just like they take it so seriously, their career in particular, like you said. But
Yeah, I
actually there's a
was that.
whole yeah, I was 1,000,000% as well too. Like, but I love what you were saying there about like the vision board. So I'm literally looking at my vision board now and I'm like, I see my
So cool.
Forbes is on it right beside Dubai. And literally that's crazy. I didn't realize that. I went to Dubai actually the month I had was my Forbes feature in January
Amazing.
because it's so important to actually visually see it. So, you know, the brain has that process of value tagging and all that kind of good stuff.
Yes.
But like from a vision board perspective, I know in
Yeah.
the head plan, you've got like a page to do your vision board, but like, how do you create your vision board? Why should people create a vision board? What's it all about?
So vision boarding is so important, and I actually talk about it a lot. And I pull back from talking about it because vision boarding is something that we're very passionate in the head plan, and we're trying to make something happen. So I create a vision board every year, and I interchange different things throughout the year as well. A vision board acts as a visual cue throughout the day. Like ideally you want to be able to glance at your vision board multiple times a day to really reactivate that reticular activation system at the front of the brain. Again, remind you of what you're working towards. Feel those bursts of most motivation, inspiration. um know that they're there and you're aligning your actions to make it happen, and feel the excitement of creating a vision board. I'm so passionate about, you're the author of your own life story and you hold the pen. Like, create your vision board and absolutely make it happen and feel the excitement. I When I'm vision boarding, I vision board in a way that I journal. For me personally, I section my vision board into the head plan pillars, and I add one in, a shooting star one, I call it. So I have my finance visual representation of my goals, my business and career, my friends and family, my personal development and learning, my physical environment, and my shooting star. And I plan under those things and just have visual representation.
What's the shooting star now? This is a new concept. What's your
Yeah,
shooting
so
star?
shooting star for me is something that mightn't necessarily fit under a pillar, but it's something that I'm working towards.
Like a big thing,
Like
or anything?
like it could be anything, but it mightn't necessarily fit under a pillar.
I love that. Oh my God. We heard it here first, girls. We are going to
Yeah.
take Denise's
You
method.
can
I love
define
that.
your shooting star. Yeah, you can define what your
Oh,
shooting star is. But it is important, Lucy, like the method of goal setting within the head plan, that you don't just make a vision board for one area of your life, like that whole 360 approach that you're so passionate about. It's a vision board for life.
yeah. Amazing. And you spoke about something really, really important. So, girls, if anyone's multitasking, please come back to me for this bit. This is super important. You said about aligned action. So,
Yeah.
explain what aligned action means
Yeah.
and
So
what stops people from taking that action.
Yeah, so aligning your actions is something that I've really had to learn the hard way throughout my career journey, and it's something I'm very passionate about now. So, aligned action or inspired action is directly aligning actions to your overall vision or your goals, like the steps, think of it as like the staircase up to the goal. Aligned actions are the steps up to the goal. So, if your goal is to, let's say, get a mortgage, one of your steps might be to assess your finances. Another step might be, another aligned action might be, meet a number of banks. Another aligned action might be, decide what bank you want to go for your mortgage application with. Another step might be fill in the application form. So they're all aligned actions to the bigger goal. And that's so important because, like what I said, so many of us get caught up in other people's plans, other people's goals, and we become their stepping stones to their goals, and we're not thinking about our own.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. You're making me think actually about, I was on a call with some of the girls in 360 Leadership yesterday, and one of the ladies was trying to make a decision based on whether or not she did this particular thing in work or not. So the very first question I asked her was like, well, is this aligned to your goal and your vision and where you're going? And I think when you're able to do that, it makes decision making so much easier.
So much easier, Lucy. And I know I've said it already, but when you're crystal clear and you have your vision and you know what your goal is, it makes it easier to say absolutely no to anything that isn't a stepping stone to this.
Mm-hmm. And what makes people, do you think, like, because obviously I'd see it too, like you hear a lot of women with like mom guilt. So say I'll have people
Yeah.
who will, they'll really want to maybe do something in their career, but then they feel like they're never doing enough with their children, right? And then all this guilt fits in, they're not helping my family and I'm not doing this for other people. And, I was actually teaching last week about the sailboat metaphor in positive psychology. It's a beautiful metaphor if you don't know it. It's gorgeous. And it's based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it's a more modern day version. And one of the things is that, you represent the boat, which is like your security, your needs, all of that good stuff. The sails are like your values, your strengths. You've got your compass and all that good stuff. In any ocean, you've got other people on their boats too. And so many of us try to steer other people's boats and try to get on other people's boats and try to help other people on their boats.
So
But
true.
it's about coming back to our own ship and being like captain of our own ship. So how do you, like, there's so many wonderful women in particular, just I think are such nurturers and are so helpful. How do you like navigate that, like that balance of trying to be captain of your own ship, achieve everything that you've achieved in the head plan? We haven't even talked about that yet. And then not worry so much about all of this stuff over here.
I think, just before we went on air, you were asking me how I was. I'm obviously a new mom. Well, how long do you say a new mom? I'm 13. I'm a mom for 13 months. And it was a difficult journey to get into motherhood, I might add as well. So I feel like even my journey into motherhood, I was kind of stepping in and I had to reprioritize a lot of things. I will say, Lucy, on something that we said before I came on air when you asked how I was. I think it's just a season. I think to remind women that for me personally, I do find motherhood a juggle, a challenge, but equally so rewarding and probably one of my most important jobs in my life. But I remind myself that it's just a season. The time is going by so fast, and I have learned to reprioritize and maybe goals that I set before she was born because I naively thought she'd slot in. Oh, and I bring her to that event, and I do this, that, and the other with her. I've learned to accept that maybe some of the dates that I'd set before she was born need to be pushed out and just a reprioritization. Mom guilt is real. I've absolutely felt it and I continue to feel it weekly, if not on a daily basis. And I think it's something to just, especially like women, particularly within Ireland, are so supportive. And anyone that's in this hood of motherhood will support you in saying the way you feel is so normal and we put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve, but we're comparing ourselves to people that mightn't be in the season we're in at this moment, and we shouldn't be comparing ourselves anyway. But maybe just stay in your own lane, stay in your own season and appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah. I love that whole concept of seasons. And you're so right, because like I have 3 kids and my eldest is 16 now. He started his first job and I still look at him like a little 2-year-old. And people say this to you and people are going to tell you this all the time. They told me it goes so fast and you're like, what is it? The days are long, or what is it? The
nights are long, but the years are short.
That's the one.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
And you're like, yeah, speed it up a little, please. But they really are. And I'm just like, it is, but it's just the balance and the juggle of life. And I think it's about, celebrating all you do as opposed to always looking at, oh, I didn't get this done, or I'm a bad mom, or I didn't get this done in the business.
Yeah, that comparisonitis is very difficult as well. We are we're just programmed that way. We're constantly looking around and comparing to Lucy's doing amazing now and like 360's taken off and I'm currently in a fog and I've probably slowed down a lot more the head plan than I would have liked. I definitely would have been liked to be at a different stage with a number of projects, but I'm in a different season.
Yeah. And like you're in a very, very important season, like the most, exactly. You'll never get it back. So it sounds like you have your priorities right for sure. So I'd love to know, Denise, obviously, like, this show is a lot about leadership and business. So I you and I are both very aligned when it comes to like women supporting women. And I know you've spoken a lot about, you've got a lot of support from the business community in Ireland. But can you think about maybe one woman in particular throughout your life, doesn't have to be in business, who had a really big impact on you and why?
Yeah, so it's most definitely my mom because I feel everything that I'm doing now has been inherited in me through my mom. So I was quite an anxious child growing up, and my mom was very much into a holistic way of living, and she's so calm, so relaxed. A wonderful, wonderful mother, an amazing woman, and someone you always want to have in your corner. And as a really anxious child, she introduced me to different tools like journaling, like meditation, affirmations, just different things to help me at that time in my life, to build up my toolkit. And that is the toolkit that I continuously still to this day. And that is the toolkit I'm so passionate about others making sure they have. So my mom most definitely has had the most amazing impact, not only on my life, but my career and this business that we've built today.
I bet. And how, like, what is she like now? Like, seeing what you've achieved.
She's so proud and, like,
Like when
I
you were on Dragon's Den, right? We haven't even talked about that, and
don't
you're probably sick talking about it. But like, I
know.
can just imagine if it was you and Charlotte, right? Can you imagine like
I
you seeing
can't
her on
imagine.
BBC?
I can't imagine. And I'm a great one for telling people in interviews how wonderful and amazing she is. And I rang her last night and I was having a chat with her, but I probably don't tell her enough. I send her the interviews. I probably don't tell her enough, but she's amazing and she's so, so proud. And she listens to every interview I do, every podcast, every clipping. She's so proud. 7 kids though, so she's a lot to be proud of. Yeah.
So if your mom is listening now, what do you want to tell her?
I'm just so grateful for everything that you've ever taught me. And she's still, Lucy, she's still my therapist, my coach. I ring her all the time. She's always there. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for everything.
Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So I want to ask you as well. Yeah, so I know you are big into your rituals, and I
Yeah.
know you're big into all the tools that you use, which are just I think sometimes people, because especially when people come to me, they expect some sort of a that transformation is something that's going to be a big change. But to me,
Mhm.
it's like all about daily habits and creating success. So what is would you say is your number one habit for the success you've created in your business and in your life?
So there's two. There's
It's
two.
okay.
There's two that go hand in hand. So first of all is writing it down. So journaling has been it's been a constant in my life, and the way I journal now is everything to me, and it's everything to the community that I've shared the method with. So journaling is number one. But number two, and journaling kind of falls into this, is showing up for myself, and showing up for myself before I have to show up for so many other people. That can mean different things to different people. I'm obviously currently in that season of foggy motherhood, and one thing that I do is Charlotte wakes at about 7 if I'm lucky, and I'm back in the 5 a.m. club, and I show up for myself for those 2 hours before Charlotte wakes. So I do the things that I know will allow me to be the best version of myself that day to everybody else and myself. And that is journaling, reading, I meditate, I try and do a small bit of physical exercise, I nourish with a good breakfast, I hydrate with my daily drench, and I just set myself up for the day, go through my journal and my goals. I remind myself and glance at my vision board as to, okay, what steps am I going to take today? What actions am I going to align, and how am I going to make it happen? That for me is fundamental to me and how I live.
And like the 5 a.m. club, I think, didn't you have that? I think was it you? I'm pretty sure it was you who shared that book. And I think you
Yeah,
did,
how
was it
well
last
was.
year? So
Yeah.
how, like, do you do it every day? Like, do you literally every single day do that ritual? Or is there some days that you'll like be like, oh, I'm tired?
Absolutely not, guys. I've only been able to rejoin the 5 a.m. club in the last 2 months, I'd say, because I have a 13-month-old. She's the star of the show and the dictator as to how I wake and everything. So she's only been sleeping well the last 2 months, and in those two months, yes, there still is nights that she wakes. She might be teething or something, and then it just goes on the back foot, the 5 a.m. club. But that doesn't mean showing up for myself goes on the back foot. I still absolutely always make time to show up for myself, even if it's only a 5-minute meditation on my own,
Yeah.
even if it's habit stacking and doing a mindful meditation while I'm cleansing my skin or doing my makeup, even if it's practicing the affirmations in the car on the drive into the office, if it's grabbing the few pages or listening to a podcast that might take me a week to finish, but I'm listening back and forth to the office. Those little things, if I could give anyone advice on how to show up for yourself, I would make a list of things that help you fill your cup and make you feel good about you, and make a list of them and see how you can even habit stack them into your day if you don't have the joy of having a 5 a.m. ritual.
Amazing. I know there's going to be so many moms in particular who will absolutely love that. And I think, what's so important as well is that sometimes we think, we have to meditate for 20 minutes. It's
No.
literally like you said, it's like maybe just being more mindful when you're actually cleansing your face in the morning, or
and like have a mindful shower. So deep breathe in the shower. Meditation isn't sitting and floating on a rock. Meditation is being mindful of your breath and not emptying your mind, but being mindful of your breath and mindful of your thought. Taking those mindful moments is meditation.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's just about being intentional about being present with yourself. And I think no matter whether it's driving and looking out the window at a tree and just going, taking in the beauty or whatever it is. So I love that you're sharing that too. On to books. Leaders are readers. I know you're a big book fan. And I know there's one book actually that you introduced me to. I'm not going to say it in case it's the one mightn't be.
Oh, there's so many books though. And I'm like, I think you know what book you're talking about. I don't, yeah, go on.
No, I'm not going to say it, but what is like, if there was one book or two, and I know you could probably list 10, she's like nearly having a heart attack here, that had a really big impact, that like was a transformational experience for you, that you went, that's why, or oh my God, I'm doing this. Like what's one that really had a huge impact?
So Lucy, actually one of the first blog posts I wrote before I launched the Head Plan, because I'm so passionate about sharing things like this for other people, because I do believe, like yourself, the right book can land with you at just the right time, and it can actually be life-changing. Same with podcasts. But there are so many books. This is so difficult, but I am going to share a book. It's probably the one you're thinking of. I'm going to share a book that I think everyone should read, particularly women in leadership, and that is The Chimp Paradox. Is that what you were going to say?
Yes.
So
Such a good book.
Yeah, Professor Stephen Peters, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It is hands down a book that every woman in leadership should read, because it breaks down the brain, how the brain actually works. It makes you think if you're in control of your brain or if your ego is in control. And not only that, it allows you to recognize it in other people, and it allows you to stop, reflect, and respond and not react.
Mm-hmm.
Responding and not reacting is a very much learned approach to living, but it is life-changing when you learn how to do it.
Absolutely.
That is where real growth is, in my opinion. That response as opposed to reaction. And when you read that book, you'll become so aware of not only future incidences as you come up against them, but you will read that book, and I know you will look back on different things and you'll be like, that was my chimp, or that was someone else's chimp at that time. It is eye-opening, and please read it.
Yeah. I will link it in the show notes. Go on.
It's so good. So that's definitely one. But can I say another one as well?
Of course you can, of course.
I know a lot of people, when they hear the 5 a.m. club, there is a bit of an eye roll and stress.
That's me. I'm like, 5 a.m. is the time I used to get home from nightclubs, not the time I get up anymore.
So to stress, you can do a morning ritual in 5 minutes if you want. It doesn't have to be a big glorious, right, I have till 7 a.m. when Charlotte wakes and these are the things I do. That's what works for me. However, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod will totally change your opinion on how you can transform your life at 5 a.m. And really, the level of your personal success is linked only to the personal development you do on yourself. And for me, that 5 a.m. club is a huge part of my personal development. And I know if I don't do that, I won't personally succeed in different areas of my life. Hal Elrod has a really interesting approach to the 5 a.m. club. It's called The Miracle Morning. He has savers, it's called. So I won't go through them all now, but he has a list of things that he recommends you do in the morning. You can adjust them to yourself. But it's very well written in the sense it really does plant that seed, and it makes it harder to hit the snooze button after you read it. So I highly recommend it. It's a very motivating book.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what, like, because like you were so successful in your business, you really are, like, you should be so proud of everything that you've
Thank you so
achieved, and also like the impact you're making in the world. But one thing I've like, because I've studied, I was obviously in corporate as well, and I've studied like successful entrepreneurs like yourself, and like, you know, I'm comparing you to Stephen Bartlett now as well, like, and that's
much.
who's, you know what I mean. But like the big entrepreneurs in the world, and if you look at Tony Robbins, if I look at any of those, you know, Oprah, all those people,
They
they
all have,
all have focus on their personal professional development. They
yeah.
all focus on their rituals. They all have do mindset work. They all meditate. They all exercise. So
It's going back to that head plan piece that I said. I was so focused on my career. Yes, I was growing in my career, but I was miserable outside work before the head plan. Like there was
yeah,
absolutely no balance. Stephen Bartlett, I'm actually reading his book at the moment, 33 Laws of Business and Life. And one of his first law is how you need to fill 5 cups in order to succeed. The 5 cups are, it's very similar to the head plan method. He obviously got the journal
just
printed
took
off.
off a pillar like and just turn them into cups.
There he, but yeah, it's very similar. It's the pillars. It's basically you need to fill each pillar. But one of the first pillars, which is the most important, is that personal development pillar.
Yeah.
Like you need to continuously work on yourself. It's an everyday job.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think so many women in the career space, for sure, like that's the thing for anyone listening who's in particular, maybe who's listening, who's trying to break through to kind of maybe more senior management in a company or whatever, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. What got you to where you are now is not going to get you there.
No.
It's like, who was it? Kevin O'Leary, I saw last night. It was on some reel. He was saying, you know, he never hires workaholics because all the most successful people, they do creative stuff or exercise or sport or something in their spare time, because you've
Yeah.
got to give that other part of your brain a break and
Yeah.
allow those creative juices to flow, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I
So
bet all your best ideas come when you're meditating or journaling or in the
yeah,
shower. They never come at the desk.
never, 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 never. And I find it hard to get those creative blocks in now that they actually need to be scheduled in or they're not going to happen. And I'm happiest and most productive in work after a break, even if it's just a block of 2 hours that I've had phone down. I put my phone down a lot, Lucy. I used to be on my social media all the time. It's up and down now, but my best ideas come during phone down times.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a walk with Charlotte. I could even be with Charlotte in the park. Yeah, so it's in the stillness where the magic happens.
Oh my God, I love that. That's
Yeah,
a new quote. In the
yeah,
stillness is where the magic happens,
yeah.
because so many women, definitely the women who are listening to this podcast, and that's the corporate way in particular, is like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, work, 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 work. And if you're not at the desk or your instant message, your Slack or your Teams are not on,
Yeah,
they feel guilty or that someone's going to think they're skiving. But
yeah,
actually, like, all the solutions come in the space.
yeah.
So that's something I think is so important as well, is just allow yourself to be more
And
instead
I
of
think
doing so
so many
much.
of us, particularly our generation, Lucy, because it is like you see different generations and their approach to work is very different. But our generation in particular, and I know a lot of women that are in our generation listen to this podcast, we do get caught up in that toxic productivity cycle. So you think in order to show up to be your best in your career, you have to be online and you're green, like you said. But that's it's not healthy, and nothing creative can come from it. Like if anything, it creates blocks. I honestly think sometimes the most productive thing to do is nothing.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
1,000,000%. That's something like I'm working on that myself a lot at the
Yeah, it's
moment,
difficult,
slowing
especially
down.
for our generation. That's what
Yeah.
I think we've inherited that toxic productivity and being at the desk, and there was no hybrid working or anything when we were in the corporate world. It's very, very different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, there's one thing that's coming to mind as you're saying that as well, is like, we think about working the hours, right? So like that 9 to 5 model is in place, like, you know, 1,000 years, like, to suit back in the day. Whereas I'm all about like results focused thinking. So instead of like, your priorities, like when people look at prioritization, sometimes it can be so difficult for them to prioritize because they prioritize based on other people's energy as opposed to what's actually going to move the needle in the business or create a result. So it's like when you kind of give yourself permission to go, right, what are the goals or the results I want to create by the end of the week? Going back to your head plan method, even around how you do your weekly goals. I love that. Like I do it on my board, but I use the way you structure it. It's so easy to prioritize because you're like, that's not a tangible result. So why am I even spending time like on the phone for half an hour with something when maybe, one of my team can do it or whatever. So I think that's a really important mindset shift to make as well. Okay. So I just want to ask you too, just before we wrap up, I always ask my guests this. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? Like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say that?
You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start now and change the ending.
Who said that? Do you remember?
I can't remember who said it, but it's always stuck with me. It's actually a quote. Who said it? I'll send it to you after who said it. It's always stuck with me. I feel like so many of us and so many people listening to this will could feel trapped. And it's like that thing I said, you are the author of your own story and you hold the pen. Like every moment is a new moment for you to decide how you want your life to go. And I think it's so important to remind people of that feeling of trapped and you're not on the right path. You can start paving a new path. So I'm very passionate about that. Yeah.
I love that. And finally, what does success, balance, and happiness mean to you?
Everything. That is everything I'm about. I feel like I've had a lot of hard lessons on the road to find it, but I definitely, despite the fact I'm in a season, I feel like I have a level of self-awareness now I never had before. And I don't go through cycles of burnout, work hard, repeat. I'm in a flow of more balance and self-awareness, and I can adjust different things as I need. And success to me is balance and happiness.
And what's one lesson you mentioned that you've learned a lot of lessons along the way? Like, what's one lesson that you've learned that's really supported you in your growth?
One lesson I've learned that's really supported me in my growth. One thing that I am still learning is, and you touched on it, Lucy, is delegation. I think it's important to delegate what you can, especially when you're spinning numerous plates. I've definitely had to learn the hard way that delegation is key to growth, especially a business like ours. We are experiencing exponential growth at the moment, and we are up 35% on last year already, but we still have the same number of team members. So there's probably a realization that I need to get some more key hires in to take some of the load off myself or Kieran. So delegation has been difficult, but I think it's essential for leadership and growth.
Yeah, amazing. And it is hard to find those key hires. And I think, it is really important that you find the right people.
Yeah.
However, then sometimes I think there comes a point where this is what I've had to do in my business. Like I have, there's 7 on the team now. And one of the biggest things for me with delegation was accepting that it's not going to be done exactly how I like it done. And I think for me,
Lucy, that's so true. That's what I find the most difficult. And sometimes I have a toxic trait of being like, oh, I'll just do it myself because I'll get it done really quickly, or I know exactly how I want it, rather than spending the time to work on a brief, to help people learn the way my mind works, to help them to make a few mistakes, but to learn maybe in future what I actually like. And
I know. It's so hard though, but I kind of think it's like, and I'm working on it too. And the rule I go back to in my mind is if I find myself nitpicking, all right, and I do it, right, a lot.
Yeah,
or I find myself going, I don't like the way they worded this. And I go, right, is it 80% there? Is 80% is good enough? And if it's 80%, I'm just like, right, just let it go. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm really trying to do the same.
I know, but look, you have to kind of get the support beneath you to be able to truly step up and lead. You can't, unless you have somebody there to take this stuff, you can't kind of step up. So Denise, thank you so much for all your insights. I know that my audience is going to love all of your tips. Where can people find you and the Head Plan?
So we are online, www.theheadplan.com. We are on socials at The Head Plan. We have a free app, The Head Plan, in the app stores. I'm on social, Denise Kenny Byrne, and yeah, that's where you'll find us. We're everywhere.
Amazing. And guys, if you don't have the Head Plan, again, I'll link it in the show notes. You've got to get the Productivity Wellness Journal.
Actually, you know what I'll do, Lucy? I'll send you a sneaky discount for the show notes. I'll tell people when I'm sharing this, there's a sneaky discount in the show notes.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And anyone who joins 360 Leaders Club, actually, I have collaborated with you guys and I've got gorgeous journals with my branding on them. And I'm so excited because they look so good. So thank you so much, Denise, for being here. Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you.